friends, and welcome to a very rare snow day in the south. Woke up to about, 2 or 3 inches this morning, and I had to plow my way through it just to get upstairs. And then of course it was caked all over my wheels, so I parked on a towel while it melted and I drank my coffee. Since going out and playing in the snow is probably not the best idea, I thought we would celebrate in a different way by having a book haul. So I'll be sharing with you all the books I've bought over the last, 2-3 months. And let's get to it. Okay, these are in no particular order, they're just how I'm pulling them out of the box. First we have The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor LaValle. This is set in the jazz age of New York City, and it follows Tom, who is a trader of magical goods, especially books and whatnot, and he finds a certain magical book that kind of gets him into some trouble. Okay, and then we have Pet by Akwaeke Emezi. In it we follow Jam and her best friend, who live in a town where monsters are said to no longer exist. That is until Jam somehow creates a monster or brings out a monster of a painting, and that monster, called Pet, is in her world to hunt a monster itself. That's about all I know. It sounds weird. It's another pretty short one, but I like weird, so we're gonna give it a go. Alright, and then we have Follow Me to Ground by Rainsford. And this one just kind of strikes me as like a dark, somewhat fantasy romance. Ada, I'm not sure how to say her name. She and her father have a power, and in their village they are the healers, but they do it by cracking open bodies and burying people in the ground, or in this special, magical ground, and she's okay with it until she meets a man, and then has to decide whether or not she wants to have a new life with the guy, Samson, or keep doing things the way that she's always done it. We have Seasons of the Storm by Elle Cosimano, and in this one we have a magical ruler, or system called the Gaia, I'm not sure. But it's seasonal magic, which I do enjoy, and in this one you can choose to either live or die, and if you choose to live, you become part of the Gaia, where you become a certain season, so either winter, summer, spring, fall. And each season, the current season, kills the previous season on this endless cycle. So once your season comes up, you kill the one that was before, they die, they train, and they come back when it's their time again. And it's just this endless cycle over and over again. Until, of course, spring and winter fall in love with each other, and all 4 seasons kind of start to band together to try and stop their cycle to see, what they can do to change things. Alright, we have The Poison Heart by Kalynn Bayron. We follow Brigid, who has the magical ability to instantly grow and bloom plants from a seed and up until flowering instantly. And she inherits an estate from her aunt, and so she and her parents moved there. But this estate has a secret garden, but this garden is full of the most deadly plants that are known, and it comes with sort of all these instructions for her how to use it, when to use it, and it's just, sort of a mystery chronicling what the secrets of this garden or this estate is. I've heard good things about it, at least the reviews seem good as well. A Vow So Bold and Deadly by Brigid Kemmerer. This is the 3rd book in the Curseburger series, the first one being A Curse Struck and Lonely. I have actually already read this one. I read it last year, but I read it from the library, and I just wanted to complete the series on my shelf. Damsel by Elana K. Arnold. In this one, whenever a king dies, his son, the prince, must go out into what they call the Greylands and slay a dragon and rescue the damsel that will become his bride. And we find that that's not entirely as it seems to be. We have Strange Creatures by Phoebe North. We follow a brother and a sister who, as young children, were the very best of friends, and they always did everything together. And anytime life got a little tough, they would escape into a world that they created in the woods called Gamlia. And everything was great and fine until they hit middle school. And the siblings started to drift apart, one going down a much darker path than the other, until one day the brother goes missing. These Violent Delights by Micah and Nemeverer. This is a dark academia book set at a university in the 1970s, and as with most dark academia books, there is a dark secret that is typically very violent. We have Bunny by Mona Awad. This is another kind of dark academia book. It is set in a university and there is a secret, but I think this one leans a little bit more to the fantasy side. I don't know, I've heard kind of good and bad things about it, but what I have definitely heard is that it is weird. What Should Be Wild by Julia Fine. In this one we have Maisie, who comes from a long line of cursed women, and the women in her family have the ability to either kill or resurrect someone with a single touch, and I believe this just follows Maisie trying to kind of learn more about her curse, while also looking for her father. I believe he goes missing as well. Light Changes Everything by Nancy E. Turner. Back in, I think it was 2020, I read another book by this author, These Is My Words, and it was probably one of my top 3 books of that year, and it was historical fiction, just as this one is, and in that one it was written as diary entries where we followed a woman named Sarah. And then I saw this book. It was by the same author, but it happens to be not really a continuation of the other book, but it's in the same time period in the same family, where this book is following her daughter Mary in the early 1900s, I think, late 1800s, early 1900s. But this one was written as a novel and not as diary entries. What Big Teeth by Rose Szabo. So we have Eleanor, who comes from a family of some kind of monsters, and something happened and she got sent to boarding school. But then another incident happened at boarding school, and so she was forced to come home and try and make sense of the incident that happened and why she went to the boarding school to begin with, and trying to figure out how to, I guess, save her family from something. I'm not sure, it's pretty vague, but it looked kind of interesting. Alright, and then we have A Universe of Wishes, and this is a short story anthology by several different fantasy authors. Well, I believe they're fantasy authors. The 2 on here that I know of are. And it's, I honestly don't really know exactly what each of these stories is about. All I know is that the Schwab wrote one of the stories, and it's the story of how Rye and Alucard from the Shades of Magic series met. And those 2 were my absolute favorite characters in that whole entire series, and that's pretty much why I bought this book. Give the Dark My Love by Beth Revis. Nature receives a scholarship to attend a prestigious academy where she studies medicinal alchemy because there is a plague that is sweeping across their country, and she is hoping to try and stop it. We have Full Closure by Camryn Garrett. So this is, I guess it's a coming of age story following a a young girl kind of navigating both the world in general, but especially the world of dating as an HIV positive teen. We have Soulswift by Bannen. This one seems a little complicated to try and explain before I read it, so let me just read the inside. So, Gallia is a vessel, a girl who channels the word of the one true God through song. Cloistered with the other vessels of her faith, she believes, as all Ovenists do, that a saint imprisoned Elath, the great demon centuries ago, saving humanity from earthly temptations. When Gallia stumbles into a deadly cover-up by the Ovenist military, she reluctantly teams up with Tavik, an enemy soldier, to survive. Tavik believes that Elath is actually a mother goddess who must be set free, but while he succeeds in opening her prison, he inadvertently turns Gallia into Elath's unwilling human vessel. Now the church that raised Gallia considers her a threat. In a race against the clock, she and Tavik must find a way to exorcise Elath's presence from her body. But will this release stop the countdown to the end of the world, or will she be the cause of Earth's destruction? And as Tavik and Gallia grow closer, another question lingers between them. What will become of Gallia? It kind of gives me supernatural vibes a little bit, with vessels and demons and apocalypse. So I don't know, we'll see. You've seen this one on my March TBR, but I have recently bought it, so I'm going to include it in here. And it's The Whispers by Greg Howard. This is a middle grade book, 11-year-old Riley. His mother has disappeared a few months ago. No one knows what happened to her, but a legend in his town is that these things called the Whispers, who live in the wood, will grant you wishes if you leave them tribute. And so Riley and his friend go on a camping trip to try and find these Whispers so that Riley can ask them to bring his mom back home. Okay, we have Fortuna Sworn by KJ Sutton. This is a fantasy romance. It's kind of a dark fantasy romance. So we follow Fortuna, who is a nightmare. It is a magical creature that can basically make your worst fears come true, or at least you think they come true as illusions. She and her brother are the only last living nightmares on Earth, and her brother goes missing, and he's been missing for I think a couple of years, when a fairy, of course, there's always a fairy, who comes around to bargain with Fortuna in order to get her brother back, and the story just takes off from there. Okay, we have Point Pleasant by Jen Archer Wood. It was actually for a book club. This is a book club pick, and it's based on a fan fiction that was a Destiel fan fiction, but it got turned into an actual book. And we follow, and by Destiel, I mean if you watch Supernatural, so this one definitely has supernatural vibes because that's what it's based on. So in the book, it's not Dean and Castiel, it's Ben and Nick. But Ben and Nick were childhood friends, and they grow up, and Ben moves away and he becomes this famous writer based on the experiences that he had as a child with their town, Point Pleasant, and its resident superstition or monster that's in town. After Ben moves away and he's been gone for such a long time, he kind of starts researching the town again to get more inspiration for his next novel, and he notices that the monster, which is the Mothman, has been showing back up again, and so he goes home for the first time in a decade to kind of figure out what's going on and meet back up with all the people from his past and so on and so forth. So you'll be hearing more. I've already read this one. This was our pick for February, so I'll be talking more about this during the wrap up, but I have bought it and here it is. Alright, we have The Book of Living Secrets by Madeline Roux. I know absolutely nothing about this book. I actually saw the cover on Pinterest And from there, I immediately pre-ordered it based solely on this cover. It has came in recently, just this last week actually, and I don't really want to know what it's about because I kind of want to be surprised and see if the story itself matches up with how great the cover is. Gallant by V.E. Schwab. This is another one that I pre-ordered and it just came in. I don't know anything about this one either. This is actually a book club pick. This is what we will be reading next month in April. I don't actually really know what this is about, but I've never been disappointed by anything that V. Schwab has written, so I'm okay with that. What little I kind of know about it is someone inherits an estate and it's filled with all kinds of dark, menacing secrets. I don't know, that's about it. That's all I have. Okay, we have Heart of the Fae by Emma Hamm. This is a fantasy romance and it is based on a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Neon Gods by Katie Robert. This is another fantasy romance, but this one is a Hades and Persephone retelling. Last but not least is my current read, The Song of Achilles, which you also saw in my TBR. Had it in my head that this was going to be Achilles' story based on the title, but it's actually told through his childhood best friend Patroclus, which I'm not mad at, I just wasn't expecting it. It threw me off a little bit, but so far I'm actually really liking it. I am almost 100 pages in, 92 pages, so far so good. Alright, those were all the books that I've bought recently, and I think I'm gonna go and sit by a window and enjoy what's left of the quickly disappearing snow. I thank you so very much for being here, and I hope that means I see you soon.